What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp, managing editor, FightfulMMA.com. Here to do a very quick wrap-up of UFC St. Petersburg. Now, we're going to go in detail on this show Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern, the Fightful MMA podcast with Showdown Joe and James Lynch. But I'm going to give you the quick results here. We had full coverage over at the website, FightfulMMA.com. Lots of comments, lots of engagement. Make sure you guys join in every single week. We've got live coverage over there. But David Tees did a great job covering this event, and we'll kind of give you the quick rundown. This was a fun show. You had about a 4-fight stretch where there were 4 decisions. Then there were essentially 5 out of 6. But before that, to sandwich this show, very good. Magomed Mustafayev defeated Rafael Fiziev via TKO strikes. That was very, very quick. That was, I believe, the spinning back kick. It looked like Fiziev even blocked it, but it wasn't enough. And Mustafayev picked up the victory. Mikhail Oleksiejczuk defeated Antagulov via KO strikes. This was very quick. This was immediate. This was in a matter of 45 seconds. He got this done. And when you look at Oleksiejczuk, he's had some ups and downs in his UFC career. But, man, this is what this show was about, was getting impressive performances out of people that they can bring back to this market. And Oleksiejczuk is one of those. He's 14-2 now. Mustafayev is 14-3 now. And I know the Oleksiejczuk had he's I think won 2 in a row now, but he had a rough year I think it was 2017. He had the Cutelaba fight taken away from him. He had the Khalil Roundtree fight that went to a no contest. But he's looking good, man. He beat Vellante and Antagulov, and that is a real good look for him, because I think really all of his shortcomings outside of the Roundtree fight came early in his career. So that's a name that you all should probably keep your eye out on. Shamil Abdurakhimov moves to 20-4 against Marcin Tybura. Another finish. Tybura falls even further. Now he has lost 3 of 4, and it's not like he's losing to Derek Lewis and Fabricio Verdum here. I don't look at Shamil Abdurakhimov and say he's top of the line, but he has won 5 of 6. He is emerging as a name at heavyweight. And if you've won 5 out of 6, you got to throw their name in the hat. But I would like to see Abdurakhimov get a better name than Marcin Tybura in the future. He's fought Andrei Arlovsky. That's a nice one. Tybura was a little bit of a step up there. And there have been a couple of times. He fought Timothy Johnson and lost in his first fight. He fought Derek Lewis and lost, I think, just a couple of years ago. So he's got some nice wins outside of the UFC. So could you, Jeff Monson. But it's time to see him get a step up in competition. A good win for him. Alexander Yakovlev, this submission even had my catch wrestling coach I can't even see where the pressure is applied there. This was interesting. I want to see this breaking down. It was an impressive choke. It went around the arm, under the armpit, and then up. But when you look at that, it's really hard to tell. Paul Felder was stumped. Dan Hardy was stumped. It was a good one. And Alex Da Silva is not an easy out. Alex Da Silva, I think he's lost 1 fight ahead of this, maybe, but ran through the regional circuit. And this was the result that they wanted, obviously. Yakovlev, another guy they can bring back and push high in the area. You got to see this submission win. It's got to get submission of the night. He's got to be picking up 50 bones as a result of this. 500 bone, whatever the hell. Yakovlev, great performance, an even better submission. And honestly, because it's a different submission, I got to say it's probably a submission of the year contender. Now, here's the thing. His back was against the wall. I think if Yakovlev lost, he was probably gone. Not only that, This wasn't his original opponent. Timu Packalin was. And he was a favorite going into this. But, man, he was like 2-4 in his last 6 fights. I think he was done if he didn't pick up the win. But he did. Somebody who's done anyway is Sultan Aliyev. Sultan Aliyev got a win over Keita Nakamura. And when I see Keita Nakamura, I'm like, man, he gets it done. He wins, loses, wins, loses, wins, loses, and that continues. Every fight he's had, and then every other fight past that, it's win-loss, win-loss, win-loss. Sultan Aliyev, 34 years old, but the thing is, they signed him 5 years ago, and he had a lot of trouble staying in the cage. He got signed in 2014, May, didn't fight until 2015. Then missed over a year and a half. He lost to Kenny Robertson, missed a year and a half. He was scheduled to fight Hyung Yu Lim, and then Sultan got hurt. Ended up winning in December. Wasn't scheduled again for another full year against Nordine Taleb. Got hurt then. Took another 6 months off. Lost. Then 6 months off. Got hurt against when he was training for Lyman Good. And then took another half year off before this fight. And this wasn't even his original opponent. Valhalla was. He was supposed to fight Emil Weber-Meek. Nuts, man. Didn't go the way that Keita Nakamura expected, but it did go the way that Sultan Aliyev hoped. He retired after this fight and decided to move on. He said that he didn't have the time to dedicate anymore to MMA, and said that he's got family and a job that he's got to dedicate that time to accordingly. Christoph Jotko took out Alan Amedovsky. Jotko's a name, again, that they think a lot of, and was once a top 15 guy in this division. And then he dropped fights to David Branch and Uriah Hall and Brad Tavares. And I don't know if he's there anymore. And he battled some injury issues of his own. He's he's a guy who had a lot of trouble getting into the cage in 2015. He had like 3 canceled fights, and that's been a theme of his career. Whether the event gets canceled or his opponent gets hurt or he gets hurt, it's hard for him to stay in the cage. That being said, through like 2016, it looked like he was something when he beat Dallas Leites. It looked like he was something here against Amedovsky. Amedovsky's first loss. Sometimes you don't know what you're going to get out of these guys who come out of Europe and they're 6-0, 7-0, even if they've won a couple fights in Bellator like Amedovsky has. Jotko will probably fight on the next Europe show. Evlaev defeated Sung-Woo Choi. Nothing outstanding about this fight. Evlaev is undefeated. Roxanne Modafferi, I thought, cleaned house against Antonina Shevchenko. I do like that Shevchenko came out aggressive in the 3rd round and really tried to put some aggression on Roxanne Modafferi. But I speak very highly of Modafferi, who is now 23-15, because she was done, man. In 2013, she won her exhibition fight against Valerie Letourneau. That was actually a pretty good win via submission. But other than that, man, she was 1-7 throughout that period between exhibition and pro fights. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. And she went back to Syndicate, changed her career, changed her life, and got back into the UFC via The Ultimate Fighter. She went 6-2. Then she won 2 fights on The Ultimate Fighter, lost to Sajara Eubanks, and has went win-loss as a result. But she's picked up 2 wins in her last 3 fights. Oh, by the way, that loss in the middle, Sajara Eubanks didn't make weight. She's not in the division. Do you count that? I don't know. Roxanne Modafferi, one of the great people in the sport, and I am incredibly happy to see her succeed. Antonina Shevchenko, she's actually older than Valentina, faces her first real adversity in the UFC. And I mean, I say that. It's not really her first adversity. Her Dana White Contender Series fight was supposed to be somebody else. It was a late replacement. Her UFC debut was supposed to be somebody else. It was a late replacement. Didn't matter. She won both of those. I think she'll be fine. Probably shouldn't give her. Probably should give her somebody closer to the 15 range than the 10 range. And that's where I think that Modafferi was. I think that Modafferi is a very good fighter. She's made a lot of adjustments. She makes a lot of changes based on her opponent, like a good experienced fighter would, not one that was just coasting off of grit and determination like it seemed like she was early on, and maybe some experience of learning on the go. But man, I guess we'll see how that goes. This was really great. A good performance out of Modafferi. She did what she had to do to win. Sergey Pavlovich defeated Marcelo Golm. This did not take long. Whoo boy. I'll say this. Everybody who the UFC needed to win on this show did win, especially when they're facing people from like Korea or Brazil or Japan. Outside of maybe Oleinik, but who cares? That was supposed to be Volkov. Sergey Pavlovich, who lost to Overeem in November, got back on the horse, got a big dominant win. This was the guy that we knew from Fight Nights Global. This was the guy that we saw running things throughout that period and came up and looked like a guy that they should put in there with Alistair Overeem in his debut. What more can you say? This was a good performance. Marcelo Golm, I think he's done in the UFC. He's lost 3 in a row. The first 2 were by decision. This one, and boring decisions at that. This one was a quick finish. I think he's probably set for Jungle Fight or some shit like that. Aspera FC again, where they don't pay people real well. Sergey Pavlovich picking up a great win. Islam Makhachev. This is one of those fights where Arman lost, but he came out looking pretty good in a loss. Islam Makhachev has now won 5 in a row. And Makhachev was pulled from that fight in January against Ronaldo. He got pulled from a fight a couple of years ago against Prazeres. He tested positive for a banned substance in 2016. A lot of ups and downs for him that don't necessarily happen in the cage. Like, he got blasted by Adriano Martins, but he's been hurt a lot. He's been pulled from fights a lot. He's had drug issues a lot. And he still comes back and he beats people like Cajun Johnson, who was very good, Gleison Tebow, who was very good, Nick Lentz, who was very good. And he went back and forth with a guy that he probably wasn't supposed to be going back and forth with. And I didn't make an I got 5 on it pick this week because there was so much unknown on this show. But one of those would have been the 22-year-old Arman, who I'm not going to do the disservice of butchering his last name. He is a really versatile fighter. He can outlast you. He can submit you. He can finish you. He had a really great head kick win over Felipe Oliveri in, I don't know where the hell that was. I remember seeing it, though. He's beaten Junior Asunsao, somebody who's got an awful lot of experience. He's going to be a guy that you look at in 5 years, and I think you're going to see some similarities between he and Max Holloway, where he's overcoming a lot of early adversity in his career and then manages to reboot things and does just fine. Main event time, number 7, Alistair Overeem defeated number 9, Alexei Oleinik via TKO. This was a rope-a-dope, guys. Oleinik pulled guard early on in this fight, got up, clipped Overeem with an overhand right, and that did affect Overeem. But I think that after Overeem felt the follow-up, now this is just my hunch, it looked to me like Overeem was clinching, and he said, you know what? These punches that came straight out of a 1980s fight scene, they're not doing anything to me. So I think I'll just let him gas out. And that's how I felt. If you saw, I mean, take a look at my tweets. My God, not just talking trash here. I literally tweeted, rope-a-dope. Overeem truly doesn't give a shit about Oleinik's punches at all. Overeem is letting Oleinik gas himself out. And for Overeem, that's kind of an interesting tactic. As we know, that button can be pressed on him. He can be put to sleep. We know it to be true. But he is legitimately one of the most well-rounded fighters in the UFC. When we previewed this fight on Tuesday, myself, Joe, and James Lynch all said, man, I don't think he's going to get submitted because Alistair Overeem just doesn't get submitted. Alexei Oleinik in the lead up to this fight said, I never tap out Alistair Overeem. This is a guy in Oleinik who taps people with things that should not tap people out. It shouldn't work like that. But he does it. And he does it damn well. Overeem cracks Oleinik with a knee, just crumples him. Commentary was like, is he playing possum? I'm like, He just pulled guard and couldn't submit him. He's not going to get punches rained down on himself while playing possum. I didn't see that. I didn't understand that. After the fight, Overeem said, man, you know what? He was my friend. I really didn't even want to fight him. And then said, I do want to fight Alexander Volkov. That's who I was supposed to fight. That's who I want to fight. I like it. I'm down for it. You look at Alistair Overeem. He did lose those fights to Blades and Ngannou. He lost a fight to Miocic in 2016, his title fight. The man is on a good run. Now, he's on the third best run of his career, arguably. That being said, that covers an awful lot of ground. He's been fighting for 20 years. And that ain't bad. He's won 2 in a row. He's won 4 of his last 6. He's won 8 of his last 11. That's a good run in the UFC's heavyweight division. He's fighting smarter these days, but he's finishing people, by the way, with regularity. I got a lot of love for Alistair Overeem, man. He's still around. He seemed like a front runner a few years ago. When he came over from the strike forces of the world, I thought he was going to be a front runner, and I thought that once he lost to Brown, Silva, and Rothwell, that might be it. That might be it for him. I thought that might be it, but no, he stuck around. I respect this dude immensely. When he got popped, I thought maybe that's it for him. Thomas David says, or Daweed, sorry about that, Thomas, says, I think if Overeem gets another 2 more top 5-7 wins, you got to put him in the title discussion, right? Yeah, I don't think you can exclude him from that even now. Like, what happens if, say, Brock goes down, do a USADA thing against Overeem or against Cormier? You going to tell me people won't watch Overeem versus Cormier as a replacement? I sure would. I think he's in that discussion now, although not like the prime name, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I'm with you. I think another 2 more top 5-7 wins. Yeah, not only do you have to, you should. You shouldn't even be have to. You just should. He should be there. Leave a thumbs up on this video, guys. It would go a long way in helping us. We will be back on Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern, for the Fightful MMA podcast. This was an easy watch. 5.5 hours start to finish. Sign me up, man. 2.5 hours from the opening main card fight to the end. Love it. Love it. Leave us a thumbs up on this video, please. Visit FightfulMMA.com. We're going to be undergoing some major changes in about a month or so. I think you guys are going to like them. Going to make our content much more digestible. Till next time, guys, we're out.